You're listening to Let's Stay Together Anime Break, the sub-series of Let's Stay Together where we talk about the 2019 anime Fruits Basket. I'm Ellen.
And I'm Kayla.
And today we're discussing episode 25, which was called Summer Will Be Here Soon.
The last episode.
The last.
For now.
For now. I mean, the second season was confirmed, so.
Yes.
Woo. But who knows what, I don't know when it's going to come out, so. We'll just have to wait patiently until then, just like we did for like 15 years or whatever. Like 18 years. Sorry.
Yeah.
Something like that. Also, like, we have things to talk about this time.
Yep.
So we'll do our summary spoiler-free discussion and then spoilery discussion like we do every time. And that'll be a wrap for the anime break until the anime starts again. So, yeah, I don't know. So, this episode covered chapters 34 and 35 of the manga, and it also had a couple of things thrown in from some other places. So, like, from the end of chapter 48 and the end of chapter 42. I don't know why I said that in that order, but it made sense at the time. It was the order that I checked where they were. So some of the kind of like the scene at the end, the very end of the episode, for example, is from chapter 48. And then the one from 42 is just like thrown in to another part that also happened at school. So they were added to like tease stuff that's coming later, I guess. But
Which I totally called, even though I didn't think they'd actually do it.
You're like, I hoped, but it happened.
Yeah.
I was like, oh shit, when I saw the people's posts on Tumblr, so. Because I always see them accidentally. I forget that I can't open Tumblr until I've seen the episode. And I always forget. I'm like, oh, no. But over and over again, like for 3 days in a row. Okay, so we talked about this a couple of times because like the last 2-ish episodes and this one all had content from these 2 episodes that are episodes of this podcast that we recorded, which was number 16 and 17. It was called This Time Will Be Different. So now we've covered everything.
Yeah.
So now you can go back and listen to them if you don't want to be spoiled.
Yeah. Everything from those chapters has been covered, but not everything from this episode has been covered in those chapters.
Yes. You're exactly right. That's exactly what it is. So yeah, we covered a good amount of the series. Like I looked back at it and it was like almost like it was all 6 of the first 6 volumes, right? And then a couple things from later. So I think almost 8 whole ones. There's like some stuff that wasn't covered yet. So it's a lot of stuff that was covered in this anime. I think more than what was covered in the first one. So, but the pace was different, and we talked about it a couple of times. Like there was more filler and stuff. So
Yeah. The tone's different.
Oh, it's completely different. In my opinion.
Yeah.
Pretty objectively, but I will say that's an opinion. Anyway, I guess we should save this for the end, but let's go ahead and go through this episode. So I'll do my summary. So the episode opens with Kyo's kind of memory as a young child with Kazuma talking to him, and he wonders why Shisho took him in. We also see a scene of them walking down, in Kyo's memory, a cherry tree-lined path at the Soma estate. And we hear people talking shit about Kazuma, like, you know, poor Kazuma, why did he take the cat in, blah, blah, blah. Kazuma picks him up and lifts him up and says that he'll need to breathe the air from higher places. Kyo also narrates that Kazuma was the first one to show him the outside world. We see them training. We see them in the bath together, and Kyo calls him Shisho. So he's the one who's like, he says like, on TV earlier today, they said that a karate instant master is called a Shisho, so you're a Shisho, right? And then Shisho says that none of his students call him that, and so Kyo starts to call him that. We see him come home later, and he calls him Shisho.
We see them training. We see them by trains.
Yes, we see them by trains. Training and by trains. I think it was just like a silent little scene while Kyo was narrating, but in the manga, Kyo is like, what is that? And Shisho's like, it's a train. It's like, it's mind-blowing. I guess like
what?
Yeah, what? So poor little Kyo was so sheltered that he didn't know what a train was until Kazuma took him away from the Soma estate. So
It's so upsetting if you think about it for more than like a second.
It is. The first time I saw it, I was like, huh, what a dummy. And then I was like, oh.
Yeah.
That's what I think of every time, or like that's how I feel every time I see it. I'm like, oh, he's asking with the train again. I'm like, oh, because his mother didn't take him outside. We saw in the episode last time that she like physically blocked him from going outside. So, yeah. Anyway, so isolated. We also see a time of Kyo's in middle school, and he remembers when Kyo got in trouble, and the teacher says that they're going to call his dad. And Kyo remembers the time that they walked in the cherry trees together, and the people were sassy. And Kyo says like he yells and says Shisho isn't his dad, and we see Shisho standing outside in the hallway looking kind of forlorn about it. In the present, Kyo wakes up.
Dramatic misunderstandings.
Yes. This whole episode is dramatic misunderstandings. Kyo wakes up in the present, his bracelet clearly visible, and he runs downstairs to find Shisho. Shigure says that he already went home, that Tohru is walking him back, and Kyo's like, what the heck, and then runs off. And as he runs away, I think that's literally what he says. That's what's in my notes. These notes are a lot looser than my usual notes. We see Yuki, after Kyo runs off, we see Yuki sitting on the porch, kind of facing away, looking outside. Kyo runs through the woods, and he thinks that he never got the chance to thank Shisho. We see Tohru parting with Shisho at a bridge. So...
Sorry, I just want to say, I thought you said partying for a second.
Partying at a bridge.
Shisho and Tohru.
Partying.
That would be like the most sedate and boring party in the world.
It would be. There would be snacks, though. Lots of snacks.
Happily drinking tea. And
I imagine that it's like they're listening to
with that weird punk music playing in the background.
Oh, I was thinking that it's like old, like whatever the Japanese equivalent of like the Andrews Sisters is. Like that's what it would be. Like the most.
That's what it would realistically be. But I just suddenly imagine that like weird music in the background.
Yeah, that one. I know what you're talking about. So Shisho and Tohru, they're partying at a bridge. I think I like how Shigure's property gets bigger and bigger and bigger. Like first it was just like the stairs, and then it was like the path in front of the stairs where in the episode with Hiro, and now it's like all the way out to like the street, and there's like a little bridge like over a little river or something. Anyway.
I guess at the start they were like, all of this forest is owned by the Somas, which is why we know you're not allowed to live here.
Everything the light touches. Yes. Anyway, Tohru and Shisho are partying at a bridge. You can see the bandages on her neck and her arm clearly visible in this scene. Shisho explains to her that he took Kyo in for atonement, then explains to her that his grandfather was the cat. And we see baby Kazuma walking through the woods. Also, I'm sorry, I switch between Shisho and Kazuma a lot, I noticed, when I talk about him. He's the same person. I hope people know. I don't know why. Sometimes I just feel like saying Shisho, and sometimes I feel like saying Kazuma. It's fine.
One is his superhero name, and the other is his civilian identity.
Yeah, like he's Kazuma when he's Clark Kent.
Yes.
And when he's Shisho, he's a superhero.
Yeah.
I think he's a superhero with both of his nicknames, but whatever. We see him as a little kid walking through the woods, and he sees a dark house and that it's padlocked on the outside. Cosmo explains that his grandfather was cast out by his immediate family, and our extended family slandered him. He was treated horribly, and by me as well. And we see Cosmo approaching the building, and he opens the door. He explains, I only met my grandfather once. Hi there, a man says, after Cosmo enters the darkened house. Come here, Cosmo. And then we see a man behind bars, orange hair kind of standing out in the darkness. It's clearly Cosmo's grandfather. I'll give you a treat, the man says, and then he holds his hand out through it's like clearly a cage that's set up in the room. I don't want it, baby Cosmo says. I'll get cursed. And his grandfather lowers his arm. We can see his dejected, rueful face. A truly rueful face this time. I see, he says. What cruel words I said to him, even though he was a kind man who forgave me with a smile, Cosmo says to Tohru. And he looks away. And you can see that he's kind of like clutching his kimono sleeve, like in an ashamed kind of way. It's really interesting little piece of body language in that scene. We also see we get a close-up of Cosmo's face, and we can see his pupils shaking like he's becoming emotional. Years went by, Cosmo says, and my objective look at Kyo's environment made me painfully aware of the absurdity and the cruelty of it. I may have wanted to rid myself of the guilt by taking him in. However, before I knew it, I loved him. I felt as if I were his father. And we see the same scene of Kazuma lifting Kyo up as a child to in the cherry trees from when they were walking before. I ignored his wishes when I took his rosary, Cosmo says, looking down, and forced my own feelings on him. Cosmo remembers the same time that Kyo remembered earlier of Kyo in middle school saying that he's not my dad. That's why I don't know what to say to him, Cosmo says in the present. So he says all of this to Tohru. I thought that a lot of this was like inner monologue, but he actually says all of it to her, I think. Mm-hmm. That's why I don't know what to say to him, Cosmo says. It would be too arrogant of me to say good for you after selfishly putting my feelings before his. All I did was create the opportunity. You're the one who saved Kyo, he says, remembering Tohru carrying him home in the morning the day before. I also never know, I forgot to talk about this last time when we talked about that episode, but I feel like it's like the sun, I can never tell if it's like morning when they come back, from Tohru meeting him outside in the woods, like in the confrontation in his true form. I always assumed that it was morning because the sun comes out, but it doesn't. I don't know. It could have just been like a storm, especially because, like, I don't know. How long would it take? Anyway, that's just a random thought of mine that we didn't talk about last time.
I don't remember do we see the sun coming out?
The sun, it becomes not cloudy.
Yeah, like I can remember it clearly in the first anime, but I can't.
Like right at the end, so she like comes back, and I remember when she's carrying him right kind of around the corner of the house, you can see like the sun, like the almost like fake like lens flare effect or whatever from the side of the shot, like from the top. So it's like you see the sun coming out, but I don't know if we'll see the sun coming up, if that makes sense. Seems like a long time, but I don't know. And then Tohru says that like Kagura was in bed when she got home and stuff later in this episode, so it's kind of, or she went to bed or whatever. So
yeah, and I guess it could be like really early morning.
I guess so.
Since summer is coming.
That's right. It's summer. It's already summer. They have Tohru already has her bathing suit or whatever. They already went swimming in the pool, so it must be summer. Anyway, so Shisho says, all I did was create the opportunity. You're the one who saved Kyo, and he remembers Tohru carrying him back in the morning in his kitty form. Because you were there for him, Kyo was... And then Shisho trails off. Was that really being selfish? Tohru asks. Even though you say so, I feel warm inside. I'm not sure how you think of it, but right now you really seem like a father in my eyes, she says with a soft smile. Shisho, we hear. It turns out the Kyos run through the woods to catch up with them. He runs and he jumps and he strikes at Shisho. Why did you leave without telling me? He says, throwing another punch and a kick that Shisho avoids relatively easily. He like sidestep avoids all of these hits. It's like you're running away, Kyo says. Shisho blocks his punch and then he spins and strikes Kyo with his hand. Did you think that I'd be mad at you? Kyo says. Or are you sick of me? I'm sorry for causing you nothing but trouble. We focus on Kyo's clenched fist as he continues. It was childish of me to say that I wanted to go back to the dojo and use you as a place to run away. I'm sorry. But even though I'm not good enough yet, one day I'll become more independent. I won't hurt you or be a burden to you anymore. I'll be worthy of calling you my dad. That's the kind of man I'm gonna be, Kyo yells, and then he punches at Shisho, who blocks with his hand. Shisho smiles and he closes his hand on Kyo's fist and thinks, after we kept missing each other and going the long way around, perhaps we finally managed to connect. And he remembers, the scene kind of fades as he remembers training with Kyo as a child. It's like in the same position where Kyo is punched into his hand. In the present, he pulls Kyo off balance and then shoves him to the ground, which freaks Tohru out. You're not there yet, Kyo, my son, and you're not done causing me trouble, Kazuma says. Kyo blushes and gets up and is like, so what? You don't have to knock me down. If you couldn't block that, maybe you become a little weaker, Shisho says, and he puts his hand on Kyo's head affectionately. Tohru, Kyo shouts. Did you see that just now? Yes, she says. See, just like I said, my Shisho is strong, Kyo says with a boyish smile, and Tohru smiles as well. Yes, 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 she says, kind of hopping closer happily. He's like,
that's cute.
It was adorable. It was like exactly how I imagined it from the manga. It kind of annoys me that you agreed so quickly, Kyo says. I know I'm no match for him. Shisho smiles and thinks, and it's definitely because you were here. We cut to later. Yuki ties his tie in his messy room. I guess this is like, actually I don't know if it's later that day, or I don't know, sometime very shortly in the future. Yuki ties his tie in his messy room. There may be times when I want to run away, but he thinks. And we cut it downstairs where Kyo, Shigure, and Tohru are eating breakfast. Shigure asks Kyo about training at the dojo again. Why is he going to be training 3 times a week? Kyo ignores the question, and Tohru says that she's happy that he's going to be training again. Kyo looks at her and he sees the bandage on her neck and frowns. Yuki comes down and sits at the table. He's about to take some, omelet from the middle of the table, but he crosses chopsticks with Kyo. Then he stands up and throws them in the sink. Kyo's like, you're tossing them? Idiocy might be contagious, Yuki says, as he sits back down. Kyo is like, whatever, you snide rat. I'm not going to let you get to me anymore. I'm going to change. Kyoken, you're trying to become what you told Shisho-san you'd be, Tohru thinks in a cloud of shoujo bubbles. Yuki is like, well, go for it, you stupid cat, while he breaks a new set of disposable chopsticks. And after a momentary ghosty silence, Kyo, of course, freaks out and yells at him, and Shigure and Yuki are like, he can't do it. I'll hate you till the day I die, Kyo screams, and he punches through one of the paper doors and leaves. Right back at you. I'll hate you even after I die, Yuki says. Is that extra damage? I forgot to check.
Yeah, I meant to check also. I forgot.
I don't think he punches the door. The same scene happens.
Yeah, I think we just see him like all enraged at the table. I don't think we actually
Like
see him leave the
stomps off.
scene.
I think he has, and he also has another knockoff Adidas brand bag in the scene. Kyo is really a brand whore for knockoff Adidas, I guess.
Is Adidas a big brand in Japan? I've never
I
really thought about it until this series.
I I don't know. I remember seeing people in like Terrace House wearing a lot of Adidas stuff, but at school later, Haru looks out the window and he notices Yuki arriving and greeting some of the girls. Like some of the, it seems like they're Yuki fangirls. I didn't pay too much attention when I wrote that note, but they're all
I
like,
think
"Hi,
any
Yuki."
like female student at the school that's not the ones we know is a safe bet to say they're Yuki fangirls.
Well, half of the student body is in the
Yeah.
Yuki fan club, right? So, or the Prince Yuki club. We also see Tohru walking in the hallway. She thinks about the other night. She says that Kagura was there when she went to sleep, but then she was gone by the time that Tohru got up. And Yuki seems a little down as well. Haru finds Tohru in the hallway and they talk. And Haru asks about Yuki, and he says, "It's just that when I saw him earlier, he seemed a little," and he trails off. Tohru is about to say something but stops herself, and she ends up saying nothing, but wonders if it could be that Yuki saw Kyo's true form as well. It seems that Kagura already knew about it, so she remembers the time that Kyo covered like Kagura's mouth. I think this is the Valentine's one or whatever. I also forgot to check that. When she's like, "I'll love him even in his true form" or whatever. This was a spoiler. It was like something we talked about in the
I think it was
spoilers.
when she first showed up,
Maybe that's what it was.
but
I forget.
yeah.
But yeah, some earlier time. One of the earlier times. Haru pats her on the head and says, and walks away. And that's the end of their conversation. Outside on one of the like bridge things that connects part of their building at school. Their school has like a lot of buildings. I
Yeah,
noticed.
their school is massive. I took a
It's
note of that this time. I
gigantic.
don't know if it's always been that size and I just haven't noticed it, or if it's just bigger in the anime, but
I think it's it's definitely bigger. I think it's the school's definitely bigger than in the manga, I think. Because it has like all these huge buildings. Like I'm pretty sure Yuki and Haru just like had that talk on the roof in the
yeah.
manga. And then two, I think it's always been that size in the anime. Because like they have the part they're standing on is the part where like underneath it, that's where Tohru met Akito and stuff like that. Like they've
Yeah.
always had that weird like gangway. There's a couple scenes in that area, but it is gigantic. I was like, what is
Yeah.
going on? There's a lot of stairs.
Yeah. It's like, why do they need like the enclosed gangway and the on top of it part?
I don't know.
They have
To
that
get
much foot
from
traffic.
one level to the other. But then it's like, yeah, one is outside and I don't know. Listen, it's so that they can have these moments in like places where there's not classrooms. That's what it's for. So outside on this bridge thing, gangway thing in the school, Haru finds Yuki and he asks if something happened. You seem down, Haru says. Don't say that when I'm fighting to move forward, Yuki says, and Haru is like, "You're fighting, huh?" Yuki asks how Kagura is doing, and Haru says he doesn't know, but she's probably fine. Does something happen with Kagura? Haru asks. And Yuki remembers the other morning. He finds Kagura leaving early in the morning while everyone else is still sleeping, and he asks her, like, why she's leaving. "Yeah, I need to go," she says, opening the door. "Tell Kyokun I'll see him later, will you?" No, I guess you won't, she says, and then she leaves. Yuki calls to her and is like he's about to say something and then says it's nothing. "You're acting weird, Yun-chan," Kagura says with a smile and then bounces. But like they're both acting weird, so anyway, understandably. Kagura is strong, Yuki says in the present to Haru. "Something happened, but I'm not telling." Right now, Yuki thinks, I need to keep a lid on things, a tight one. On his true form, on all the other things. Everything, all of it. Otherwise, those ugly feelings will spill out and I'll be overcome by filthy feelings like hatred and revulsion again. We see a memory in the not-so-distant past. Yuki sits in a dark and traditional room, his head in his hands. I don't want that to happen again, he thinks. Honda-san was worried about you, Haru says in the present. You didn't notice, did you? And Yuki, who looks surprised, is like, no. Haru says, it's your choice whether you choose to voice your feelings. But you don't want her to keep worrying, right? It's you I'm worried about, Yuki says. You're always busy worrying about other people. I guess it's just my nature. After all, I want things to get more fun, not more painful, Haru says. And Yuki agrees. Later in the hallway, Tohru and Yuki meet on the stairs. She tells him that some of the student council were looking for him earlier. He says, I'm better at tying my necktie now, and fewer of my plants die, and I talk to more people now, I think. They're small things, but I'm trying to get better at the things that I'm not good at. I want to change myself that way, little by little. He remembers himself in that same room that we saw before and thinks, I hope to someday become a man who can let myself experience my feelings without being overcome by them, like I promised I would that day. And he remembers making the promise to Kisa when she was struggling in an earlier episode. So the one where he was like, I can't remember exactly what he said, and I forgot to look it up. My bad. But he was like, Kisa, you try to become stronger, and I'll try to become stronger too, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But I've got a long way to go, he says, getting closer to Tohru on the stairs. So he's like slowly walking up the stairs as he talks. Sorry for worrying you, Honda-san, he says. Oh, no, it wasn't your fault, she says, waving her arms. I'm still not very cool, he says, and there's still a lot of things I can't tell you, but I hope that little by little I'll gain the courage to tell you. We see Yuki's memory, or maybe this is like his imagination, but it's a continuation of the scene of him in the room, like in the darkened room, traditional room. He turns and he stands up and opens the door, like opens the window so the light starts to come in. Okay, she says in the present. This summer I'm thinking of going out a lot, Yuki says. So will you come to like summer, she asks. Once I thought it over, it seemed like something I could like, with fireworks and festivals and beaches. Maybe it's a season when I can create a lot of memories with you, Honda-san. Tohru makes a little like noise and he's like, oh, you don't want to? And she's like, don't be silly, of course I do. Yuki puts his arms on the railing beside her and says, if you don't, I'll just snatch you away, so be ready. She blushes as bright as a tomato and ahs, and as he pulls away, he's like, just kidding, but she hasn't recovered yet from this moment and faints, bonking her head on the railing. Yuki asks if she's okay. She says that she's fine, and he just surprised her. Yuki laughs and smiles a genuine smile, and he apologizes and says they should go, I don't know, away from wherever they are. Yuki laughs and smiles a genuine smile, and he apologizes and says they should go. You're not uncool at all, Tohru thinks as she follows him on the stairs. Yuki-kun and Kyo-kun keep growing into such wonderful people, so much that I'm not sure my heart will last. Two mysterious students pass them on the stairs, a dark-haired boy and a light-haired girl. The boy covers his face with a notebook and says, so that's Yuki Soma, eh? He's as pretty as the rumors say. But the girl says, and the guy's like, and she's like, nothing. What are you talking about? He says. Why don't you take more interest in other people? I'm super interested. Later. So I know, your boy's here. He's here. So good. I mean, it's kind of like they already introduced their voice actors, I guess, on Twitter, so we can say that that's Kakeru and Machi. So exciting. Anyway, we'll talk about it. So later, the kids walk home from school. We're almost done. Everything's fine. Kyo asks why Haru is coming with them, and he's like, I was invited for dinner. And Tohru says that she'll make some of his favorite dishes, and Kyo is like, how did this happen? And Haru is like, it's a secret between the two of us, putting an arm over Yuki's shoulder while Yuki kind of looks away slightly grumpily. Kyo is like, whatever. Kyo-kun, Kagura shouts, and then suddenly appears and kicks Kyo in the face, sending him flying down the street. I'm so happy you didn't run away today, she says, grabbing his leg and cuddling it, and Haru and Yuki are like, you prevented him from running away. It turns out that Shigure invited her over as well, which Kyo grumps about, and she'll be going back to the dojo and training as well. She seems happy, Haru says to Yuki. Kagura's finding her own way forward too, he says or thinks. I don't know, I think thinks. I'll eat out today, Kyo grumps as Kagura drags him home, and she's like, don't complain. There may be times we want to run away, Yuki thinks as he adjusts his tie, but we're all fighting through it. We cut to Shigure's house, and it turns out that Ayame, the greatest older brother in the world, has also come, and he's brought a bunch of crab with him. When I received this abundance of crab, I simply had to give some to Yuki. That's why I came all this way. Not many possess so much brotherly love. And of course, I'm number one, he says, brandishing a crab claw, and Yuki looks distressed. Oh, what's the matter, Yuki? You plainly have a distant look in your eyes. Yes, I understand. I do. Your eyes are dazzled by the unparalleled brotherly love that I hold for you, Ayame says, while Kagura force cuddles Kyo in the corner. You can do it, Yuki. Stay strong, Haru says. Turns out that Momiji, Kisa, and Hattori arrive as well, and it turns out Hiro will come later, Kisa says, because Shigure invited them over for dinner as well. But where's Shigure-san? Tohru wonders, and Hattori says that he had business at the main house. Momiji says, I want summer break to come soon so I can stay overnight. And Kyo is like, no way. Tohru smiles and says, summer will be here soon. It seems like something will happen, like something will begin. It's marvelous. I'm super duper excited too, Momiji says. We'll go to the beach, we'll set off fireworks, we'll play Split the Melon. Let's catch stag beetles too. And Tohru's like, yes. And then we cut away to a hospital. Hiro slides open the hospital room door. I hear they cleared you to go home, he says. He looks down and he sees food spilled on the floor. That's good, he says, and he comes farther into the room. We see a girl sitting in the bed looking down, long hair over her face. If you hadn't snuck out of the hospital so much, they might have released you earlier, Hiro says. Hiro, the girl says, sitting up slightly. We see her fully now. We see that her chest is bandaged. I know now, she says, that Gurini is the only option I have left. It won't be easy, but... So you're not giving up, Rin, Hiro says. She looks over at him with dark, piercing eyes. I'll never give up. I'll make sure the curse... Or if you watch the dub, she said, somehow I'll... Like, the curse, somehow I'll... And then it kind of, like, trails off. So they added a little bit to the line. Anyway. Mm-hmm. We cut away to the main house, and we see Akito sleeping on Shigure's lap. I feel it coming. We hear Yuki say, and then we see him. I don't know what it is, but it's in my chest. Something that expands up to my throat. I feel it coming, Kyo says. Something so big it leaves me speechless, Tohru says, and looks up. And then there's like dramatic music behind the whole scene, and then we cut to the credits. That's the end of the season. It's the end of the chapter. Oh, yay! Not chapter. End of the season, end of the episode. Oh, so good. Rin's here too. Everybody gets what they want. You get what you want. Yeah. I get what I want. I loved what they used at the end. I thought that was really awesome. The scene of the three of them, it's from whatever I said before. It's either from chapter 48 or 42. I can't remember which one it's from. It's from the end of one of the previous volumes, where it's like Yuki says, I feel it coming. I don't know what it is, but it's in my chest. Something, and then Kyo says something that expands up to my throat. I feel it coming. And Tohru says something so big it leaves me speechless. That was pretty cool. Yeah. And the music is interesting in that scene too. It's like a nice dramatic music. There was a couple like new dramatic music things that were added recently, I feel like, into the whole like oeuvre of the series. Oh, so nice. Okay. I'm so excited. Yeah, your boy's here. Your boy Kagura is here. Your favorite.
Yeah. I like that they snuck in like everybody. Like everybody didn't get animated last time, got animated a little bit in this first season.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is that everyone? I think it is everyone.
I think so. All the major ones anyway.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Because we had...
Not naming names, but yeah, you're right.
Yeah. Because we had a sneak peek of someone earlier, so...
And Mayuko's in this, and she wasn't in the first season, actually.
Yeah,
even though,
too.
like, a bunch of content... There's, like, a bunch of things that happen after she's introduced as a character, but I guess, like, when they animated the first anime, maybe they thought she was, like, just some random teacher that could be replaced.
Yeah, she was mostly just kind of, like, cool teacher for a while, so...
Yes. But yeah, so
they're probably like, we don't need a specific cool teacher. We can just have background teachers.
Yeah, they can be other teachers.
Yeah, and then she started getting more roles, and they were probably crap, but then by that point they weren't getting another season, so it didn't matter.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, so even Mayuko, who's I guess not like a major character, but a major minor character, you might say.
A somewhat prominent character.
Yeah. Even she got some space in the anime this time, so that's nice. But yeah, our new mysterious students are here, I'll say.
Yeah.
And their characters were officially introduced like on Twitter, so I think we can say their names. So there was Kakeru Manabe and Machi Kuragi. That's her last name, yeah. Who are the two students who are walking in the hall, and then Isuzu Soma, or Rin, I guess as they call her. Yeah, I think they announced that her full character's name, so. Yeah, sweet. I want to talk to you about their voices. The first time we read a chapter earlier with Rin, and I was like, oh, I don't actually know what her voice sounds like. I mean, I have a feeling, which is kind of how who they kind of picked. But yeah, I want to talk to you about their voices and what you think about them.
Yeah, I didn't know until because I watched the dub also.
Yeah.
I didn't know until I scrolled down to the bottom of your notes, and I was like, oh, that's why they sounded familiar for.
Oh yeah, they're all
Machi,
from.
at least. Yeah.
They're all from FMA. Yes, yeah. I made some notes. So let me tell you who the voice actors are. Yes. So the guy that plays Kakeru. So I have notes on both the Japanese voice actor and the English voice actor. Very prepared, because I was all like, oh, their voices sound nice, but I don't know. So like a lot of them, basically, I looked to see what other kind of like things they were in, just cause. And like for some of the Japanese voice actors, I was like, I don't know most of these series, so I'm sure there's other people that it's just because I don't know a lot of
I
anime,
feel like
but
I feel like it's a bigger industry in Japan
yeah, exactly.
than English dub voice acting. So like
And I think there's just more
it's like been
series
the
too.
same. Yeah, like it's been the same like staple of people doing English
Yep.
dubs of anime for years and years and years.
Yep.
And every once in a while you get a new person in there, but once they're new, they're in everything.
And
So
I think most of these series were all dubbed by Funimation, so like a lot of the Funimation, like
yeah,
actors, they're all in the same kind of like pool. Like how Joss Whedon uses the same actors over and over again,
yeah.
or
And
whatever.
Funimation's the like
Yeah, it seems like
the big game in town. So
yeah. So Kakeru, the English voice actor for Kakeru is Aaron Dismuke, I guess. I don't know how you say his name, but he was young Al. So like in the early, he was okay. So in the first version of Fruits Basket in 2001, he was young Akito and Hiro, and then he was Al in FMA. So I'm guessing that he was younger. He was younger back then.
yeah, he was he was like 13 when he was voicing
Yeah.
Al or something like that.
Exactly. So he's a youth.
Yeah.
So yeah, so now he's a grown up. So now he's voicing Kakeru, which is interesting.
Yeah. Fun fact, for Full Alchemist, he voiced Al in the first series, and then when they dubbed the second series, he voiced the younger version of their father.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
That was a nice little kind of legacy touch there.
He was also in Ruby. That was one of the other series that I saw that I was familiar with that he's done and had like a lot of. Sometimes it was like extra voices. I didn't include those.
Yeah.
And then of course Machi is fucking Caitlin fucking Glass, which is really interesting. So she was of course Winry in FMA, and she's also the like dub. She's the director of the Fruit Basket dubbing, whatever.
Yeah.
I know the words I'm saying.
She's done a lot of directing lately.
Yeah.
For dub series.
Yes. And then, of course, she was also in, for some other highlights, if you don't know, she was in My Hero Academia and Yuri on Ice. Those are some of the ones that I picked out. Popular series. And then Rin is played by this person, Brina Palencia, who I'm not super familiar with. It seems like she's done a lot of voice acting for games, and she did a series that I recognized in her kind of like IMDb were My Hero Academia and Tokyo Ghoul. And there were some other like Funimation series I think that she had done. So
apparently she was also in FMA.
Yes. She was some Nina something or whatever.
Nina Tucker. That's
yeah. Ugh. Anyway.
Yeah.
Can't wait till we have our FMA podcast. More horrible things to talk about. Anyway, the Japanese voice actors. So the guy that plays Kakeru is Takuya Iguchi, and he was. So I noted that he was Charmander, the voice of Charmander in Pokemon Origins. And also, like, Giovanni and some other characters from Pokemon. And he was in Haikyuu. That was one of the series that I recognized in his thing.
The Charmander in Pokemon Origins became kind of a meme with the...
Really?
Yeah, it became kind of a meme with the, like, horrible screaming during the battle.
In the Japanese dub? Or in the Japanese version?
I think so, yeah.
Okay, I wouldn't know.
I think if you look up Charmander Pokemon Origins, that'll probably be the first thing to pop up. But...
Let's look at it. He just screams the whole time. It's like a horror movie. Okay, well, apparently he was that guy. I mean, I feel like that's appropriate for Kakeru.
It's like I'm gonna need someone to like dub that scream over the first like real Kagura scene.
I don't know. Whatever. Listen, I'm just reporting what's on IMDb, okay? Machi is played by a woman named Ai Kakuma, and she was also in. Apparently, she voiced I don't know, a bunch of people I know are related to Fire Emblem. She voiced Edelgard in the Japanese version of Fire Emblem, the most recent one, I guess.
I'm familiar with the name, even though I haven't played
I
Fire
haven't
Emblem,
played it
just
either.
from seeing it around.
And then, whatever, she was in Naruto Shippuden and Haikyuu also. And then the person who plays Rin is Aki Toyosaki. She seems to have a really long IMDb. Like, I think she's been in a bunch of stuff. Of the things that I picked out that were series that I recognized, there was, like, Noragami, Knights of Sidonia, K-On!, and Spice and Wolf. So yeah, anyway, I thought all of them were nice. I thought they were all good choices. I was expected Rin to have kind of a deep voice. Also, the scene where she's speaking, she's like super desperate sounding, which I thought was really good. So it was the right tone. Kakeru and Machi seem good too. Also good tone for their very, very short scene.
Yeah.
I like how they're like, it's happening. Like, the series is like, we're gonna do it. Trust us. I don't think that... Actually, I guess they must have shown up before. Because all those other things that were from later in the... Sorry, the train of thought that I'm having is... They weren't animated. I thought maybe they weren't animated in the first one because like they weren't there yet, but they definitely were. They just hadn't come back.
I'm not sure if they were actually, because they don't. I know that scene doesn't come until a little bit later, but yeah.
So out of the list of chapters that I looked up, maybe that was the one that was in chapter 48, which might not have been out yet.
Yeah, or if it was like pretty late. Like it would have.
But I thought that was a really interesting choice because like basically that scene of Yuki on the stairs is like cobbled together with that one of the two kids, of Machi and Kagura talking. So they actually like mushed two scenes together that like worked out really well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's funny because like I joked that I called that, but like I can't remember what episode it was we were talking about it, but I think we were saying like we probably wouldn't see them until season 2, and I was like, I guess maybe they could put like that scene of them like talking in the hallway like it's like a foreshadowing thing, but I didn't think they actually would, but they did.
It's happening. I was just like, I hope there's Rin,
but
and there she was.
Though we didn't get to see her glorious horse form.
No, we got to see that on Tumblr.
Yeah,
the longest mane. Or whatever it's in the official like character design like announcement. It's pretty rad. Yeah, okay, so this episode had a bunch of things that happened. It was like kind of this aftermath of the true form stuff, and we saw a little bit about Kyo and Cosmo's relationship, and then we also in terms of like true form aftermath, so we saw that and how their feelings were kind of resolved. Like Cosmo says, you know, we finally were able to connect or whatever. And then we saw some aftermath of Kyo's true form transformation with Kagura and with Yuki and Tohru, I think, essentially, right? Mm-hmm. Tohru basically says nothing, but she worries about Yuki and Kagura the whole time, I think. Oh, it was also a minor addition that they added everybody coming over, like Haru. So Ayame and Haru come over in the manga. I noticed when I double checked this earlier, but when Miji and Kisa and Hattori were added, and Hiro, so they say Hiro's going to come over. I think that they use that to just like segue to that other part with Rin. So that was interesting. Yeah, and of course we saw Shigure at the main house with Akito like clearly sleeping on his lap. So that was interesting.
Yeah,
I feel like we haven't talked about them in a while. I definitely didn't think about this till just now. So I forgot because we talked about them in the last anime episode or the last manga episode.
Yeah.
So we got another scene of Akito and Shigure together. This time, Akito is again in kind of a vulnerable position, asleep with Shigure, right? So that was really interesting.
Yeah.
They didn't say anything. Nothing happened. It was just we just cut to that scene and then we cut back to what Rin was saying. Or no, we cut to what Rin was saying to what Yuki says at the end. There was a lot that happened though, so I felt like I was gonna forget things. Because there was like a whole thing with Cosmo and Kyo, then there was a whole thing at school. It was like a lot of moving parts. Almost everybody that we've seen so far in the series was there, and new people. So and 3 new characters. So it was kind of a lot.
Yep. I like that they added in like a little more focus on like the bandages on Tohru to kind of. Yeah. Because like we were talking about how they'd have to cut like that little bit from the Hero episode, since that was coming before the true form arc compared to the manga.
Right.
So they kind of like sort of compromised by having, you know, a lingering look on the bandage on her neck.
Yeah, that's right. Kyo looks at her neck and then and like grimaces or whatever. In the episode with Hiro, he like apologizes or he like asks her if it's healing or whatever because it was set later in the manga. So yeah, there's still a lot of attention drawn to her neck multiple times. Like that one time, it's really clearly visible, and then I think there's a time at school. Well, like it's just very clearly visible in like every scene. So
yeah, it's given a little more focus than like in the manga. I think
so. I think the way that those like kind of quote unquote extra scenes were added was good. Like the ones where they're like summer, it's gonna be summer, like we talked about a couple of times. Yeah. And like summer's coming, I can feel something's happening or whatever. Like it was that was cool. And then the ones with like Rin and the one there was another one. No, that was it. The one with Machi and Kagura. Yes. Yeah,
it was nice and like, you know, foreshadowy and teasing a new season. So yeah, because we were talking about we're like, I wonder what they're gonna do since they already kind of went past the climax with the true form arc. So they went with here's what's gonna come next, aren't you excited, kind of thing. So they're
like, hey manga people, here's your characters that you didn't get before, you're welcome.
Yeah, and it's like even if you don't know like what's coming and to be excited about it, it's, you know, kind of nice and foreshadowy, a little bit ominous,
Yeah.
a little bit hopeful, a little
Yeah, it has a good vibe.
yeah.
Like a kind of ambiguous, but yes, the way you described it is good. Like it's like
Yeah,
ambiguous, but like kind of. You're like you watch the end scene where Yuki and Kyo are like, I feel it coming, I feel something in my chest or whatever. Something so big it leaves me speechless. That scene with Tohru as well. And like you're like,
Yeah.
oh, I don't know if I should be concerned or if I should be happy, excited. Like it's one or the other. The series really walks a fine line. So yeah, I thought I liked that as a good ending because I was like, how are they gonna end it after this? Like we talked about that before too. It's like, what finale can you possibly have after the true form? But
yeah, and they also did. I guess kind of the anime version of the like dance party ending by having everyone come and eat a meal together.
Yeah.
And,
yes. Dance party ending. Eat a lot of crab.
although Tohru and Cosmo were already partying, so
they were partying on the bridge, but they were like
Yep.
chill music and like really soft discussions and snacks.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember if there's anything that was significantly changed other than the added scenes, but I think a lot of it was the same. And I think that there was some things that were, again, like there were some minor changes to like the dialogue that explained things a little bit better. There's something in my notes that's bolded. Hold on, let me find it. I remember. Oh, so Yuki says in the scene with Yuki, he remembers like the room a couple of times where he looks like he's like in middle school. Like it seems like it's right before the series. He remembers himself in like a traditional room a couple of times in the darkness. And one time he says, I hope to someday become a man who can let myself express my feelings without being overcome by them. Which I don't think is like, I don't remember that type of line from that scene in the manga. I mean, he says a lot of stuff about that and how he wants to change, but
yeah,
that specifically where he says like, it's just very explicit, I think.
yeah. I think the manga is more about like more on his like be overcome by like disgust and hatred again, and I don't want to do that kind of thing. So
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it is more focused on that. He does say that, but I think in this little, I don't even know if it's like an alteration, but in this kind of adjustment to either the translation or the scene, he's like I promised I would that day. Actually, they added the thing with Kisa there in the anime, which also makes sense. So they called back to that time, which was
I think it's a good line for Yuki.
I think so too. I think that is more what he's trying to do.
Theme, yeah.
Yeah. This was a good Yuki episode, I felt. It's a good Kyo one, but also a really good Yuki episode. We're starting to see his like I think we talked a lot about how the things the big changes for Yuki come much later in the series. Or like relatively later in the series. So
yeah. And we also talked about like how the true form arc is obviously a turning point for Kyo, but it's also winds up being a pretty big turning point for Yuki, although it's not obvious right away. So
yeah, I think this makes it a little more obvious that it's going to be like the context of this conversation, which is the same time it happened in the manga.
Yeah,
and then they add this in, so I think that makes it clearer that that's where he's going, which is nice.
Yeah.
There was another one. I think there was something that Kyo said too. Like, Kyo has a little bit of an added line. So, like, there's the scene where Shisho and Tohru are partying on the bridge, and Kyo he runs and catches up with them, and he fights with Shisho, and then he's like, oh, are you sick of me, or whatever, I'm sorry for causing you nothing but trouble. He says, it was childish of me to say I wanted to go back to the dojo and use you as a place to run away. I'm sorry, but I know I'm not good enough yet, or whatever, something like that. So the fact that he also says, like, to use you as a place to run away, like, I think that was alluded to where in the episode prior to this one and also in the earlier chapter in the manga, he was like, oh, it feels like lukewarm water here. And Shisho was like, you know that feeling is, like, good for you, basically. Yeah. And I don't think that that in particular... yeah. Yeah, it's called kindness. But like, so when he explicitly says it was childish of me to say that I wanted to go back to the dojo and use it as a place to run away from like the feelings that he feels there, which he doesn't exactly say, I think, in the manga. He was just he's just like, I know I want to someday be like a son that you can be proud of or whatever in that scene. So we also got another kind of like more explicit explanation of like the feelings that he's feeling, which I think is interesting. Did you notice that Yuki didn't throw his like chopsticks away? He threw them in the sink, and then he like got disposable ones, which was super weird. I was like, bro, what is your deal? We also got a ghosty panel, which made me happy, of course. I like that they kept the line where Kyo's like, I'll hate you to the day I die, and then Yuki's like, I'll hate you even after I die, which is like super goth. Makes me laugh. Like, chill.
I can't remember exactly what it was, but kind of like in the dub, instead of saying like, you stupid cat, like broken up like that, he was just, I can't remember what exactly he said, but it's like, well, we'll see, or whatever, like all like really slow.
That's awesome.
And I just think it's like almost even funnier that that's what pissed you off. Just like Yuki, like stretching out a sentence like that.
I'll have to go back and watch that. I watched the dub to hear their voices, like the new, so I basically watched like the second half. I kind of like skipped part of it. That's really funny. Now I have to go back. And like I kind of just listened to part of it. I felt like all the voice acting was really good, of course, in both. But
yeah,
I really wanted to hear the new voices, which was exciting. I like that Ayami made an appearance. That was also nice, even though I figured that he would in this chapter, like based on the chapter that we read before. Oh, it was actually in the dub. So the scene with Rin is interesting because they also added like. So Hiro comes in and he says that stuff to her. He's like, "Oh, it's good you're getting out soon," or whatever. And then she basically like ignores him, and then she's like, "Gurney is the last option that I have." And then she says like, "I'll never give up. I'll make sure that the curse." And then like, so in the Japanese it just trails off and it just says the curse. In the dub, she's like, "I'll make sure like the curse somehow I'll," or something like that, like as if it's implied that she's going to be like doing something to do something to the curse, right? So, and by it's implied, I mean it's obvious by what she says. So they added that a bit, which also made it more explicit. Even the fact that in the Japanese one she said the curse, because I think in the other one it said like, "I'll never give up." Like, who would give up? I'll never give up, and that's like the end of her dialogue in the manga. So it's more explicit that she, her like depending on Shigure has to do with the curse.
Yeah,
or like, you know,
it's another more making it more of a teasy foreshadowy line for the next season. So
yeah, so that was cool. I like when they do that. They add a little line that just like, it's like the, you know, like the years of refinement or something where you get to look back and you know what's coming, so you can add to it.
Yeah. Plus, there's always just lines that sound better written down than they do out loud, so like they need to be tweaked.
That's true.
Like,
yeah, that's true.
Adaptations have to adapt things.
Yeah, that's definitely true. That's why they call it an adaptation.
Yeah.
Or even like changing the dialogue for different languages, like Yuki saying, instead of being like, "You stupid cat," being like, "Well, guess we'll see." Like, that's a it does the same thing, it like conceptually. So translations have to adapt,
especially for translations, because you got to take into context. You have to take different cultural context and what's going to make sense and stuff.
So when you put these things together, are there any like? So basically, what happened was we read like the content of the first part of this episode with all the true form stuff, so it made that kind of as an arc, and then we read the second part with something else. I can't.
What's a couple different things in the second half? So.
Right, but so like, when you put these pieces of content together now, is there like a different theme? Because basically, what happened before was that we had like just everything about Kyo, and then everybody else was in another thing. But now we have everybody's reactions to the true form all in one place, conveniently curated for us.
I do think like this episode had a very strong theme of like moving forward and changing and trying to become a different person. Like we've talked about change being like a big theme of the series overall, but I think this one, like with all this stuff together, kind of specifically solidified kind of the like, I want to change into a, you know, quote unquote better person than I have been kind of idea.
I agree with you. I think that that's a much stronger theme in these chapters when you put them, or like in this content when you put it together in this where these things pieces are together. Whereas I think like the first part, because we had read it with the true form stuff, it was all kind of like about acceptance. And like Kyo, I feel like Kyo's being like, I want to be like a son that you can be proud of, is more about like, I don't know, when you put all of it together, it becomes, you can interpret, you know, being accepted by your family or whatever, right? Versus like in this, it's about becoming a better person, becoming a better father, having a better relationship, or like becoming whatever, all of Yuki's deal that we saw in the second half of this episode, basically. feeling your feelings and not being overwhelmed by them. And then everybody else, there's other stuff too.
Yeah, and I think those, there's other
like Kagura
stuff about it. And I do think those themes like go together nicely, like the whole like acceptance, and like you kind of have to accept who you are and where you are in order to want to change that. But yeah, I think because there's so much in the like dialogue leading up to the like true form reveal about like accepting, like with Kyo accepting that part of himself and everything, and him saying like he accepts it, and it by saying that his life is meaningless and all that stuff, which is like, no, that's not what I mean.
Yeah.
But
She's just like, you don't get it.
yeah.
Also, like, you have the contrast of like Tohru accepting him versus like his mother
Yeah.
being like, I totally love you, everything's fine, and then totally not, that not being the case, right?
Yeah.
Just being like, that was superficial instead of genuine. Those things, if you compare them to like the first part of this episode, then you get that, you kind of, the stronger theme that comes through is like acceptance and family stuff. When you put the first part of the episode, this episode, and the second part of this episode together, then you get this like stronger theme that's more about changing and moving forward, which is a good theme for the end episode, I think, actually.
Yeah, and I do think it's a fairly strong theme of the series overall, so it is a strong theme to end a season on. It's a good concluding paragraph, as it were.
Yes. Great wrap up.
Yeah.
Okay, so unless you're sticking around for spoilers, I guess that's it for now until the next season of the anime starts coming out. I don't know what to say. Who knows what we're going to talk about next time?
Mystery.
A mystery. And who knows when it'll be?
Yeah.
I like how every time you say it, every time you say that, I say it back and then you laugh, which is really great. I don't know why. Like, it's funnier when I say it than when you say it to yourself. Like, I don't know.
Well, I can't make myself laugh as easily as you can make yourself laugh.
Shut up. That's definitely true. Yeah, so 2020. Sometime in 2020 it'll happen. I bet it's going to be like spring. I don't think they're going to do like a winter, but I don't know. Who knows? Whatever. We'll see. Yeah. In the meantime, eventually we've been promised another season, okay? So at least we're getting another season's worth of content.
Yeah. We've got a year. It says confirmed. It's happening.
It's definitely happening.
It's like, or else we'll riot. I mean,
totally. A riot in the streets. When you said we'll riot, I imagined like a party, just like a Cosmo and Tohru party. I was like, that seems like the fandom.
I was gonna say, like, my version of riot would be like knocking down one bottle off my desk in an angry manner.
Writing one tweet that's like, I'm really disappointed that the new season isn't coming, sad face.
Yeah. Dear sir or madam.
Dear Funimation, I know that you control the world.
Displeasure. Yes. Dear Funimation, how dare.
Yeah. Okay, on all of those notes, you can find us at staytogetherpodcast.com, staytogetherpodcast on Tumblr, staytogetherpod on Twitter, and you can email us at staytogetherpodcast@gmail.com. You can listen to these anime breaks again and again on Stitcher or the Google Play Store or whatever, wherever you want to find podcasts. Also,
just listen to them on repeat until the new episodes start.
Yes, and then just like cry a little single tear while you wait. Or, you know what you can do? You can go back and read all of the manga, and then you can listen to all the manga episodes and catch up. If you want. You could probably skip to like, I don't know which one has the end. This one was episode 17, but there's like content that was in the anime that was after this one, so
yeah,
you could skip ahead probably.
I don't know, volume 7, I guess. You'd have a couple of repeats, but it'd probably be a good place to jump on.
You would have to go back to you could go to episode, I recommend going back to episode 24 actually, which is in volume 8 maybe. So it's chapter 46, because up to that point, like, that's right after Ritsu's introduced, and Ritsu was introduced in the anime, so you're not really missing out on anything. But then there's some good, that episode, that's a good, or those chapters is like there's a good Yuki and Ayame moment in those, so you should go listen to that.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And then all stuff after that we haven't covered yet, so yeah. And then you're only like, I don't know, 5 episodes behind maybe 4 or 5 episodes behind the manga chapters, so you can catch up. Yeah. So you can do that. Okay. Thank you all for listening to all of these anime episodes. It's been a good run, I feel like. We had a good anime. There was a couple changes.
Exciting.
Yeah. Okay. We're going to talk about a couple of little spoilers after the break, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll see you. If not, we'll see you next time the anime comes out. I have at least one thing to be excited about. Mostly. Yeah. All right. We'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye. we're back to talk about spoilers. So good. I don't have a lot of spoilers to say, except that it's student council and also Rin. That's basically what I wanted to say.
Yeah. I'm so excited.
Promises have been made.
All our babies. They got animated.
It's so good. Yeah, and then as we kind of alluded to, we had Kureno also, I guess, in the car.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep, so that's all the major players who didn't make it into the first anime. So
yeah, you're right. And also Mayuko, as I said.
Yes.
We haven't had that story yet, but since she was animated, I'm hopeful that they won't just like cut that romance out.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's going to be in there.
Probably.
Especially since they had all the at the lake house, they had the whole thing about I got the photos from Mayu, so
the Mayu who dated Shigure and dumped him after 3 months.
Yeah, and was best friends with Kana.
That's right. That's
not setting anything up.
That's definitely true.
Do you think the only real comment I had is that they cut out Kagura specifically saying he was interested in Tohru Honda?
Oh yeah, it's true.
Yeah, he just said, I'm interested, which I think was probably a better choice for what they were going for.
Yeah.
For just kind of general alluding to the next season kind of stuff.
It's okay. It'll be mysterious enough without that.
Yeah. I really liked his dub voice acting. Obviously, the original was good, too. But
yeah, both of them were good.
Yeah. We didn't get a ton of Machi because she's not a huge talker, but...
She's just It's literally 3 words, probably.
Yeah. I'm always surprised when, he shows up. Aaron, I never know how to pronounce his last name.
Because
I always recognize his voice, but I'm surprised he's such a good voice actor now because
he was a child.
He was 13 when he was starting, so it's he was good for a kid, but noticeably a child voice actor.
Yes.
So nowadays I'm wow, he's a good voice actor now.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I guess if you start something when you're 13 or whatever, then you have a lot of time to perfect it.
Yeah, I mean he started pretty good for being a kid, but now he's been in the industry for years, so
yeah, it's true, over and over again. So
yep.
Yeah, it's a good time.
Caitlin Glass is obviously a old hand in the industry, so
for sure. I also think she's going to be a good fit for Machi too. It'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, she does. Or most people knew her as Winry, so it was more of a bubbly role at first, but then she did Haruhi and Oran.
Oh, yes.
Pretty good at that, so.
Yes. I think she can do both. And be serious and be kind of bubbly.
Yeah.
I thought it was interesting how, I feel like it's interesting how little, not interesting, I mean, I guess it's what's in the chapters that were covered, but it's interesting how little Aikido and Shigure actually interacted. We saw that a couple of times, but not very much.
Yeah.
And it's nice that at the very last episode, there's by the way, this is also a thing that's happening. Because there was a couple episodes, like I said, I think it was 10 or something where they weren't together. So it was interesting to have a call back to that too. It was a good choice.
Yeah, there's lots of just here's all this stuff that's going to be important coming up. So
Ayame bringing crab. I mean,
yeah, very important. Haru quietly going Fighto to Yuki.
Yes. Do your best. So good. I really don't have any other spoiler things to say. I guess on the whole, we're just getting set up for all of the. We're getting set up for the student council. We're getting set up for Rin. So we actually are getting set up for the things that we've been promised by the team. So.
Some deep curse lore.
Yes. She's gonna break it.
Yeah, which is another thing that didn't get much play in the first anime because it didn't really become as much of a thing until when Rin became involved. It's just deeper, darker aspects of the curse itself. It's mostly just it's a curse, they turn into animals, and then that was just kind of the background for what was going on. So
yeah, I think in the extra scene with Aikido at the end, Akito's you can't break the curse, blah blah, or whatever,
Yeah.
I mean, I guess that's where you would go, but that's what Akito said to Kana as well. So then you already have that set up as a thing. I wonder how far so this one had 8-ish volumes. So I wonder how far they're gonna get with the second season. I think that'll be interesting.
Yeah.
That would be. So you could theoretically go to 15 or 16, and that is. The end of volume 15 is the end of Sword of Cinderella.
Yeah. I guess they're probably going to get into the beach arc pretty quickly with the second season.
It's summer. Didn't you hear?
Yeah,
you said it was
summer's
summer.
coming.
Yeah, I would
So,
assume that. I don't know. And then after that, it's like there's like the parent teacher conferences. There's Rin shows up. Well, Tohru asks Shisha how to break the curse. Rin asks Shigure how to, or whatever. They have that scene where she comes to the house. I guess that's technically before the beach arc, but whatever.
yeah.
Tohru sneaks in to meet Kureno. They go on their class trip.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of what would be like the next like mini climax to be for a season finale.
I know. I'm just looking at the list. I'm telling you some more things that happened toward the end.
Yeah, like I know, like before we realized just how far they were going to get with the first season, I was thinking maybe it'll end with the like Aikido is God reveal or something, but obviously that would not take long enough.
Yeah, that's right.
I guess they could maybe go with like the maybe the combo Kureno's curse is broken and Aikido is a woman reveal.
Maybe. Yeah, that's all in the same chapter, isn't it? It's a big deal. That's the beginning of volume 17, so you might make it there.
Yeah.
They could also shift some stuff, because there's some things that are just like, and here's like a story about Kyoko and Katsuya. Like, you could move that into the next season after that or something. Like, it's not really like, it reveals stuff about Tohru, but then it doesn't come back until later, like some of the things about her father, so.
Yeah. I'm just trying to think of like, you know, like the reveals come like pretty fast and after a certain point, but I feel like that's one of the biggest ones, so.
Yes. Probably, because after that there's Kido Kureno, Machi's kind of backstory. Well, there's like Kyo's, so I don't know. In that Katsuya, the one where Katsuya dies, it I think that's also revealed how Kyo is tied into everything. I don't know. My note says Katsuya dies, how Kyo is tied in. I don't know what that means. The note that I made to myself. Like, I don't know if it's like the reveal about him being at Toru's mother's accident or not.
Kyo's just like tangled up in a ball of yarn during the whole volume.
He's tied in.
Yeah.
There's also... Oh, yeah, Rin in the cat's room. That's in volume 18, though, so that's quite a while.
Yeah. Yeah, I was thinking of that, too, but I was like, I think that's a little far.
The laundry scene is until volume 19. We're going to have to wait for, like, 3 years. I mean, what? Yeah, there's a bunch of stuff that happens, basically, after volume... Like, the Rin... Aikido and Kureno reveal in volume 17... Like at the beginning of volume 17. After that, it's like a bunch of shit happens. That's like the first of the big reveals, based on what I'm seeing in this list that I have made. That's probably the best place. Also, it's like a good, I guess like a point of tension for the rest of the story to come after that. So, well, that'll be interesting. We'll see though. We'll see in 2020, at some point in 2020, and then we'll be back to talk about the anime. We'll still be recording manga episodes by then, so it's fine. Yeah. Probably. Yeah. Well, I think that's it. I don't know. That's all I have to say. I don't have any major other spoiler things to say.
It's like our children have arrived.
Yay. It was a good episode. I enjoyed it. Also, it was very true to the manga, and I think the things that were added in were good additions, so.
Yeah.
I can't think of something.
It's a good choices made to turn it into a season finale. So
other than the like minor thing of not Kaku not being like, I'm interested in Tohru, that's probably the only thing that was really changed, I think. That's I don't know, whatever. We'll see you next time the anime comes out, I guess. It's hard to say. We'll see you in 2020. And or for more, if you listen to the spoilers, you probably read the anime, so I mean you probably read the manga, so yeah. So yeah, I guess we'll see you for manga.
In which case, we'll see you in a couple of days.
Yeah, see you on Wednesday for more manga. All right, bye.
Bye. I guess at the start they were like, all of this forest is owned by the Somas, which is why we know you're not allowed to live here.
Everything the light touches. Yes. Yeah, I guess so. And so like they anyway.
Spoiler, it's like that's what they told Aikido.
Yeah, really.
Brought him up to the roof.
They lifted it up. Akira lifted him up and was like,
yeah.
It's good times. I'm gonna have more
like
tea.
The cat's room in the corner. They're like, what's that shadowy place? You must never go there.
I should have waited to have tea till you said that. Yeah, the cat's room is fucked up. Anyway, we'll talk about it. Anyway, Tohru and Shisho are partying. He also has another knockoff Adidas brand bag in the scene. Kyo's really a brand whore for knockoff Adidas, I guess.
Is Adidas a big brand in Japan? I've never really thought about it until this series.
I don't know. I remember seeing people in like Terrace House wearing a lot of Adidas stuff, but I'll report back when I go in November if I see a lot of people wearing Adidas
Just
stuff.
go take an informal poll.
No, I'm gonna
stop people in the streets. How do you
do
feel
you
about
like
Adidas?
They'll be super uncomfortable because I'm foreign. It'll be great. Also, I'll have really bad Japanese. It'll be awesome.
It'd be funny you didn't even like ask in Japanese. You just go like Adidas.
Do you like Adidas? Yeah, it can only go well. I'll do an informal survey with my eyes. It won't be objective. I'll tell you what percentage of people are wearing Adidas stuff.
And I just imagine you like sidling up to people and like making eyebrow
Just
gestures.
looking at them. Be like, thank you for participating in my survey. Here's a $25 gift card.
To Adidas.
Yeah. Oh, none of this can go badly. I'm gonna get kicked out of Japan for being weird.